Welcome back to Uncharted Waters with Admiral Waters. I'm your co-host, Lieutenant Commander Kenneth Bradley. Lock in with us as we have a conversation about mission and mindset pertaining to all things Navy recruiting. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And share with everyone. Send it to your mom, send it to your dad, send it to yourself and watch it 50 billion times. All right, let's get into the conversation. Welcome back to another amazing episode of Uncharted Waters with Admiral Waters. I'm your co-host, Lieutenant Commander Ken Bradley. And today's special guest, you got it, Admiral Waters himself. We're going to do our end of the year episode and talk about this historical year that we've had. And this is going to be me and Admiral Waters having a conversation. So I'm ready to do a nice dive into that. Admiral Waters, welcome to your own show.
Yeah, it's great to be here again.
Again.
I really love doing this. And this is the best day of the year where we're celebrating the completion of FY25 with just an amazing and, as you say, historic
Yes, sir.
results.
Yes, sir.
So I'm really looking forward to diving into sort of an end of year reflection, if you will.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, we're going to get right into it. Admiral, can you start by sharing the big picture? How many active duty enlisted future sailors we brought in this year and why that number is so significant?
Yeah, we shipped to boot camp 44,096 active component enlisted sailors to boot camp. It is an amazing number. We haven't done a number like that since about 2002. And when we did that number back in 2002, we had about 1,500 more recruiters than we do today.
Yes.
So that just speaks to the work and the effectiveness of today's recruiting force and why this is important. You know, the mission was 40,600. We blew the doors off of it.
Yes.
We did that because the Navy needs sailors, right? There are gaps at sea that need to be filled based on past recruiting misses, based on growth in the demand for sailors on ships and in operation centers, including cyber operation centers, maritime operation centers. All of that has combined to just increase that demand signal. And so we made the decision to just keep running. And, you know, we announced back on June 18th that we had placed enough sailors, either shipped or booked enough sailors to meet the 40,600 mission, but we just kept shipping sailors. And so 44,096 is the number. It's historic and it's important.
That is awesome. And so since this is the highest recruiting success we've seen since the early 2000s, what did that accomplishment mean to you personally and to Navy Recruiting Command as a whole?
Well, it's certainly personally very satisfying. One of the joys of this job is to work with so many sailors distributed everywhere around our country on a common mission, and to see that mission succeed, and not just in small pockets where they carried the load for everybody else. We succeeded broadly across the nation. 25 of the 26 NTAGs got to at least 100%, and some significantly above that. And so that speaks to the full and complete recovery of Navy recruiting from a time when we had missed mission in 23 and we were heading toward missing mission again in 24, where there was the sense that hope was being lost.
Right.
And to turn that from that situation to be present and part of the organization, to go from that point to where we are today, where we not only made the mission, we blew the doors off of it. And not only that, we made all the other categories of mission, right? So we are green across the board as recruiting nation.
Yes.
Every officer category, so active component officers, reserve component prior service, and reserve component not prior service officers. We made not just active component enlisted, but also the reserve, prior service, and non-prior service mission. So all those different categories are tracked on up, and it is just astounding. One of the other things that I will communicate and share with you, Ken, and with Recruiting Nation is, as we're recording this, I'm just back from the Secretary of War's gathering of generals and flag officers from across the world, around the world, I guess. And one of the things that I experienced when I was there is every naval officer that I interacted with, and there were many of us there, every flag officer, as well as the Marine Corps recruiting commander, General Bowers. Every single one of them started the conversation with me about how excited they were for Recruiting Nation and the success that we'd seen. So not only are we doing it, but it's well known within the Navy and of course in the Marine Corps recruiting world how well we're really doing.
Yes, yes. Winning organization. This is championship stuff.
Yeah,
right?
We are a professional, world-class organization.
That is awesome, especially when the reputation precedes
Right.
gets out there.
Right. So another anecdote for the podcast, when the president was speaking at that gathering, he mentioned the success of recruiting broadly. He did not dive directly into Navy recruiting in any depth, but mentioned Navy by name. When that happened, the officers sitting around me, there was a lot of nudging and shoulder tapping and things like that was happening because they recognized how important it is that it's been recognized. It's being spoken about at the very highest levels of our government.
I'm sure very proud moment for you.
Oh, it was fantastic. It really was.
When you look at this year's success, what do you think was the single biggest factor that allowed us to hit and exceed the mission, besides your incredibly amazing flag secretary / XO?
The flag secretary and the podcast. It's all right. I gotta take Uncharted Waters off the table, probably.
Okay.
I know, because that was a big one.
All right.
My in all seriousness, the single most important factor was the line recruiter. That's it. Mic drop.
Boom.
Right. We did a lot of things, but it is not lost on me that if the line recruiter, that sailor that came off a ship out of an aircraft squadron, went to Pensacola for a 5-week course on how to recruit, when they got to their station after that course and began recruiting in earnest, if they did not do the things that were necessary, we would not be where we are today. And I say to the recruiters in the field, thank you. There is no, I can't say enough praise for what's happened. I know that there are thousands of things that happened day in and day out in those recruiters' lives that made the difference. It was those decisions that they made that I may never know about, where they stayed the extra half an hour because the kid was stuck in traffic and was going to get there just a little late, or made the extra 10 phone calls when they really thought, maybe I'll go home. No, I'm going to make those extra 10 phone calls, and got 2 appointments out of it, and a contract came out of those 2 appointments. Those are the things that got us across the line. At headquarters, we can all, whether it's me or the Commodores or any of the staff, we can provide guidance and direction. That's all well and good, right? My job, I think, is to clear the field, provide the plays, but it's really the recruiter that's got to go out and run the play every day. And I am inspired by what I see. One of the incredible things that when I talk to my peers about this job is, for a large shore-based organization, the percentage of fleet sailors that we have is disproportionately large compared to similarly sized organizations you can think of, even maintenance organizations or acquisition organizations. They have far fewer sailors that are, fresh from the fleet. It is a decisive advantage for us that we have the human capital, the 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 will, the inspiration, the drive, the creativity of those sailors out there that can get this job done. And it is both a blessing and a curse that we have numbers that we have to get, right? There's a blessing because we know exactly where we are relative to those numbers. It's a curse because the number's always behind you, right? And I respect those recruiters out there for continuing to work hard despite having that number kind of always there, and really encourage each of them to just be thinking about running the play every day, because the ones that do have they're successful, they build a good work-life balance, and generally are happier in the day-to-day life that they live. But every single recruiter out there is the reason that we are where we are.
That is it. You guys are the real MVP. Keep running the plays, keep the blocking and tackling up the basics, and going the extra yard.
That's right.
That is awesome.
And it's not about, it's like the NFL where you have, some, world-class quarterback, sort of the key player, that gets a lot of the paycheck.
Right.
That player, whether it's a quarterback or a wide receiver, does not succeed without those linemen.
Exactly.
Blocking, without the running back that's willing to block.
Right.
When the blitz is coming.
Yes.
Right? It's the entire team working together. It's beautiful to watch the pass to the wide receiver, 2 toes down, falls out of bounds, first down.
Right.
Right? But that was enabled by all the players. And that's true here. There are some recruiters out there with, 3, 4, 5, averaging 3, 4, 5 contracts a month. Love it. But it's the recruiters out there that are continuing to work every day to generate the activity, to bring in the contracts, without, seeing the high glory of being the highest producing in the, they're just coming to work every day and just doing it.
Just doing it.
Right? That I love.
That is awesome. That is awesome. So, sir, you often talk about Navy recruiting as a machine that runs from the line recruiter all the way to headquarters. Can you walk us through what that looked like this year in practice?
Well, I think that there's obviously the line recruiter is the contact layer. They're the reason we're here. They're the number one priority, right? It is my firm belief, and it's reinforced by the performance of this organization, that if you give those line recruiters the tools, the mission will take care of itself, right? It's, if I respect them with the way that they are, the way that the tools that they're provided and the policies and procedures to minimize friction and maximize success, they will take care of the future sailors. They will ensure not only are we, filling the funnel that we're harvesting, right? But that harvest will be well treated, right? That the delayed entry program sailors, those that are waiting to ship, will be treated with respect, that they'll be brought in, they'll be engaged with, made part of the team, and further developed. And that machine runs from that line through the rank to the DLCPO, which, the DLCPO is one of those critical nodes, the divisional leading chief petty officer. And sometimes it's a divisional leading petty officer, right? Sometimes we have first classes there, occasionally a senior chief in that position. But for many in the career recruiting force, that position is the first time that they've had to lead at a distance,
Okay.
right? So when you think about a divisional chief on a ship, there's like, I'm looking at
Right there.
you, and you're starting to walk away from the line.
Mm-hmm.
I can come talk to you. We can sit down and I can have a conversation with you about where the line is and where you are, and some tools and techniques to get back and identify what's going on in your life
Mm-hmm.
to help you to be successful. Those DLCPOs are leading from a distance. The very best of those, and I would say the vast majority, recognize that it's not just about processing numbers in Salesforce, right? Because you could take that as the role of the DLCPO, but it's also about those same things that happen on a ship, but sometimes it's via Teams, sometimes it's via phone, and sometimes it's, I'm driving to all my stations and to make sure that I can have those one-on-one conversations with
Right.
the sailors in the division.
Right.
That DLCPO is that critical node in inspiring production, right?
Right.
We can be as inspirational as we want to from the ivory tower in Millington.
Right.
If you're living under a DLCPO that isn't managing well, isn't leading well, isn't inspiring, your life is there's a block between you and what's coming out of here. So that's the next layer. Back to the headquarters with the ACRs and the CR, as well as the command team. That layer, I think, is managing, the overall glide slopes, where the priorities need to be. It's when, okay, I've gotten enough of my general officers moving in the right direction. I'm falling a little behind on HPSP, the Health Professional Scholarship Program. These guys don't normally recruit there, but I'm going to use them because they're engaged with college students about joining officer programs, and I can engage with college students about joining a health professional scholarship prior to med school, right? It's how do you shift resources to do those things to keep your NTAG online, back through the region, which is watching each of the regions, East and West is watching 13 NTAGs. Navy Recruiting Reserve Command is watching 5 RTAGs, and they're the ISIC. They're applying, experience where it's needed. They're also running the inspection teams to ensure that we're meeting the requirements. Back to the headquarters where the program managers are watching the entire nation, right, in the various categories, and keeping me informed as to where we're going, whether it's trending in the right direction. And that's some of the goodness of the operations brief that we do every day, where we all center on a common operating picture here in the headquarters. It's sent out on Teams so that the NTAG and RTAG teams can listen and learn. But we are one machine, one, being, right? All connected, all the way to that line recruiter at the tactical edge.
That is awesome. So hopefully there's points where you can identify yourself and how you fit into the machine. I also really love the inspiring piece with regards to the DLCPO and the chiefs. So heavily relying upon the chiefs mess out there to continue to be great chiefs.
Yeah, I can't say enough about the importance and value of the chief's quarters in keeping this organization on track, on slope, and demonstrating the standard, right?
Right.
Showing it, living it, upholding it for those that are below them in the chain of command. We are too spread out to expect that any one officer leader, any one enlisted leader is going to put that together. It's the entire wardroom and chief's quarters,
Right.
and really the chief's quarters as the deck plate leaders that are the backbone, the keel of this ship.
Yes, that is awesome. Well, sir, how did the Recruiting Operations Center, which we know as the ROC, change the way the enterprise shared best practices and problem solved together?
Yeah, well, the fact that we use that as a rallying point daily, 8 o'clock Central Time every day, every working day. We're together with the entire ops team, all the regions to look at, well, where are we
Mm-hmm.
and where are we going? And where are we weak? Where are we strong? Allows us to center up on the where to apply resources.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we see that somebody has, we're looking at end tags compared to each other, we're looking at their performance relative to their glide slope, where you see a bend in the curve, then you know, it's not always about, well, what are they doing wrong? When you see success, it's like, okay, what are they doing right?
Okay.
Right. And we can drill in on the numbers within Salesforce and perhaps we can see, oh, they've applied more resources here. They've taken a turn on converting national leads,
Right.
or the Commodore can step in because they have much more direct knowledge in communication with those O5 COs and say, here are the things that we've learned. Now the other Commodores hear it. The ops brief is published onto Teams, so anyone logged in from the NTAGs can directly hear about it.
Yes.
And learn from it. And I would say that is also tied to the recruiting commanders update brief we do every other week, where the NTAG and RTAG and soon RTAG COs will communicate their best practices across the entire recruiting nation.
That's awesome. It just sounds like a good thing to focus on. Like you said at the beginning, instead of let's focus on what's happening wrong or what's bad, let's go ahead and get
That's right.
an aggregate of what are the best practices.
That's right.
Promote those and have that shared information.
There are people out there that have solved many of the unsolvable problems in their corner of the world. It's extracting that good idea and then disseminating it across the nation as rapidly as we can. And that's some of why NSO got better this year, right? There were NTAGs that kind of figured it out. And then we published, like, what are they doing? And the other NTAGs were picking up those things, applying them in their AOR, and then their NSO, their Navy Special Operations recruiting started to get better. And I will tell you that Navy Special Operations work was some of the hardest work we did this year to fix a process. We were off plan when we started the year, although it was better than it was 6 months before that, but we had a lot of experimenting to do, and to finish ahead of glide slope was just astounding.
That's amazing. Sir, what improvements were made to the medical waiver process, and how did that affect speed without compromising standards?
Yeah, so, you got to go all the way back to a year and a half ago, but we've done several things. We expanded the team. So there's 3 or 4 times more people involved in that review process than there were in mid 24. And we've established and made permanent some of those positions, and we're working toward further permanency on those positions so that we retain that talent over time and gain some civilians in there in addition to the military, so that we have consistency rather than every 2 or 3 years there's this change out.
Yes, sir.
We documented the flow of how waivers flow through there, and have continually refined our relationship with the receiving side, so the RTC medical folks, who don't actually work for RTC, but the medical folks that do the in-processing and assessing up there. We're constantly learning from each other on what can be waived, what can't be waived, what should we be looking for to ensure that we have a good understanding before we waive something. So that learning, that constant learning, is happening all the time to refine the process. We worked with BUMED on the special duty waivers, which are for Navy Special Operations, nukes, non-nuke subs, to ensure that we had a common understanding of what were no-goes.
Yes.
And so we make sure we added a second check before we ship, because when an NSO contracts, sometimes they contract as something else first, then pass the PST, the physical standards test. and then get reclassified into NSO. And now the medical team gets another look to say, do they have any of those no-goes? So we're not shipping people to have their hearts broken 2 weeks into boot camp, right? And so those processes were changed to ensure that we can keep up. And our average time, even counting ad infos, additional information, so people going out for referrals, which is a relatively small number, but counting all that is less than 3 days. The vast majority are done in 0 to 1 day.
Okay.
Decision speed is decisive in this game.
Super quick. Sir, what challenges do you see on the horizon for fiscal year 26, and how are we preparing to address them?
Yeah, so there's continuing headwinds of, propensity, which really, as I've said before, is a measure of how hard recruiters have to work.
Yes, sir.
To make contact. I'm confident that our recruiters have the tools and techniques. I'm investing in the marketing and advertising world to continue to generate national leads to allow that contact. Because once contact happens between a recruiter and a young person, those conversion rates are good.
Okay.
Right. The other things that I would say are challenges that we're going to have to work hard on: delayed entry program management, really building engagement, building those relationships to reduce attrition and maximize referrals from the folks waiting to ship. And then the third thing I'll talk about here, while there are many things, but just to summarize, I think the medical officer recruiting, we still have some things to learn. We had a historic change. Like, we recruited one doctor in 24 and we recruited 43 this year.
That's
like
huge.
1 to 43 is a huge change.
Yeah.
But the goal was above that. So we did not recruit all the medical doctors, but we're on a good path that I think that we have what we need to make it next year or this year, FY26. But we have things to learn. We have things to learn about the student programs. We have things to learn about the direct succession programs, because as a world-class professional organization, we make every mission, and that includes every designator, every rating, right? Without exception.
Yes, sir.
And so we have to drill in those places where we've been challenged. And on the enlisted side, some of the things like culinary specialist and the flight deck rates, we were challenged with last year, and we're going to make those this year. We make all missions.
I love it. Sir, any closing remarks before we get out of here today? Was that the closing remarks?
No.
Anything else you got to say?
No. I think it's great. I'm really glad to have the opportunity to chat today about where we were in 25, the incredible success, and looking forward to 26. I am full of optimism as we go into 26. And I will close my final words for this year in review with simply thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for tapping in with us today. The standard has been set. You guys have shown your cards. You've shown that you're truly amazing. So we're not going to accept anything else. The boss has high expectations for you all. And share this podcast episode with random people on the street this week. Just ask for their number and give it to them. They'll appreciate it. You guys have a great day.